It's a funny thing. Time. It only really matters when you have a life to lead. I checked my phone. 7 p.m. on Tuesday the 6th of September. A time and date of zero importance, aside from the fact it was the first time in 6 months I had managed to leave the house. Given it was such a momentous occasion, the room in which I now found myself couldn't have been less inviting. Everything about it, from the nondescript ivory walls to the mismatched chairs we were perched on, exuded an obvious, albeit unintentional, sense of neglect. No, neglect was too strong a word. Rather a lack of attention by someone who had more important things to worry about than interior design. How anyone lived day to day in a space like this was beyond me. The woman who had let me in and whose flat it was, Genevieve, smiled at me. The other two avoided all eye contact. I observed them both as subtly as I could. The one sitting across from me, who Genevieve had introduced as Victoria, looked like she had stepped out of a Hello magazine. Perfect nails, enormous engagement ring, stupidly shiny hair. Roughly 2 decades older than me, but with way better skin. The other woman, Misha, I think Genevieve said she was called, was far less intimidating, and couldn't have been older than 19. A girl, really. The human equivalent of a baby mouse. Small, innocent, and fully aware that, at any moment, there was every chance she might get swallowed. There was something about that I found oddly reassuring. She looked how I felt. I gave her my best attempt at a smile, something that Genevieve appeared to take as a signal to begin. "Thank you all very much for coming. We're still waiting for one more, but we should probably make a start. Would anyone like a drink before we kick off?" We all looked at each other, then shook our heads. It seemed I wasn't the only one who wanted this to be over with as quickly as possible. "No? Okay then." Genevieve pulled her dress delicately over her knees, smoothing out the creases in the olive-green chiffon with the tips of her fingers, before moving both hands upwards to tuck a shock of curly auburn hair behind her ears. She seemed young for a psychologist. Mid-20s, maybe? Pretty, but in a nerdy kind of way. I felt for her then. It couldn't have been easy, bringing together a bunch of people with nothing more than a brief email and an even shorter telephone conversation to go on. But then again, it was her choice, wasn't it? To bring us here, I mean. I hoped to God she knew what she was doing. The last thing I needed was to end up in an even worse mental state than I was already in. "I want you to open yourself up to something a bit different." Those were the precise words she said to me on the phone a week ago. "It's based on a theory I've been working on, a different approach to group therapy." "Don't worry, it's nothing illegal." Oh God, why the hell had I said yes? How would she convince me to come? Now I was here, in her flat. I couldn't think of anywhere I less wanted to be. At some point she was going to ask me to open up about what had happened, in front of other people. Even the idea of it made me feel physically sick. I tried to think about something else, but it was too late. My ears had already blocked up. Oh, please, no. Not here. I felt the panic as it started to build. A small ball of it swelling inside my stomach like a fast-growing tumour. The room began to swim, and ice-cold sweat pooled and soaked into my jumper, sticking to me like an unwelcome second skin. My eyelids felt sticky. I squeezed them shut in a desperate attempt to clear my vision. I was going to pass out. I gripped the arms of the chair and willed myself back into the moment, taking several long, deep breaths as quietly as I could, just as the doctor had told me to do. I concentrated on the sound of my heart as it hurled itself against my ribcage, like a convict desperate to escape. "Please, brain, don't do this to me now. Calm down, Freya. Calm down. Just calm down." And then it all went black.